Welcome into the Fantasy Six Pack Network. I am your host, Justin Bruni, and this is Best Ball After Dark. Tonight's episode, we're going to be covering quarterback and tight end stacks. Last week, we covered quarterback and wide receivers. Excited to be back in the booth here, talking to you guys about Best Ball, talking to you guys about fantasy football. We are on the precipice of the 2024 season. I'm at 123 Best Ball Mania 5 drafts. Locked and loaded, geared up to go for my last 27. Things are shifting in the streets. The winds are ever changing in ADP. But tonight we are here to talk about some top tier quarterback and tight end stacks. Be on the lookout for market movement. You can always hit me up at BestBall Bruni on the Twitter, on the X, for any questions on how you're shifting and how you're changing your draft strategy. Before we get into the top 8, we are going to cover some late round QB and tight end stacks, as well as our two snubs, our number 9 and number 10, if you will. Before we do, be sure to smash the like button, share the video, and follow the Fantasy Six Pack Network on YouTube. Again, smash that like button. Appreciate all the support. So for the late round sleepers, I really like tagging Bryce Young and Jatavian Sanders. Really like that late round stack. You're looking at Bryce Young probably rounds 15, 16 now. You can still get Jatavian Sanders round 18. There is really no demand for his draft capital right now. I don't see people drafting Ian Thomas by any means, but I just don't see anyone moving Jatavian Sanders up the board. It's very rare. So he is a free round 18 click. And to me, a third tight end that you can get on your best ball roster that will have a clear path to production. Whether we don't see it right away, I do think down the stretch of the season, he's going to be a reliable tight end for us in fantasy. So, take that as you will, and, maybe target him in redraft as well with Bryce Young. Could be an early waiver wire darling in your home leagues, in your redraft leagues. And another late round stack that I really like and I really trust is Baker Mayfield and Cade Otton. Going, again, very affordable. I wouldn't say as free or as cheap as Bryce Young and Jatavian Sanders. Maybe you're bringing, Cade Otton up to like round 15 and you're getting, Baker in end of round 13, beginning of 14, somewhere in that range. Still a very desirable stack, an offense that I do believe will continue to pass the ball a lot. We saw good things from Baker in this offense last year. We know that Canales is their offensive coordinator is now with the Carolina Panthers, but we are expected to see a lot of the similarities from last year's offense. Again, a lot of passing. You don't have really like downhill runners in Bucky Irving or Rashad White. So I'm expecting this team to still pass a lot and for Cade Otton to benefit from a lot of, lower ADOT targets, a lot of routes ran along the line of scrimmage, fewer yards off the line of scrimmage, while guys like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are doing their thing, tying up defensive backs and hopefully leaving more linebacker coverage for an uprising tight end in Cade Otton. So those are my two favorite late round stacks. I have a lot of those. I guess I should also shoot in Tua Tagovailoa and Jonnu Smith. A little bonus there. I do have a good amount of Jonnu Smith. I think Jonnu Smith and Jatavian Sanders are my two highest exposed tight ends right now, again, through 123 drafts. So, but that's also, again, with them being built as like my, third guy usually. Sometimes two, but very rarely. The snubs that I'm going to go off of are based on strictly the tight ends. So strictly the tight ends. First off, DeShaun Watson and Njoku. Njoku is a tight end that definitely demands, based on his production, to be in this conversation. It's just that he has DeShaun Watson there with him. So he definitely fits the build for what we're looking for a top QB and tight end stack. It's just that he falls one QB short of that stack. I do not have much trust in DeShaun Watson. I've drafted very little of him, but a ton of David Njoku this year. I know that seems counterintuitive. It's just very difficult for me to trust DeShaun Watson, even at a very affordable ADP. I have sprinkled on some of him as we're closing down draft season, but again, it's at a much lower click rate than it is with Njoku. So I can't necessarily put them in that top 8, top tier, combination with the rest of these guys. I just think that combo falls, again, a quarterback short, just $1 short with Deshaun Watson. Maybe he plays better this year, but again, the lack of consistency that I saw last year, also getting hurt, it just doesn't do enough for me. And then the other one was going to be, who did I have? It's going to slip my mind. It's not coming to me. If I remember it, I'll bring it back up. But I thought I had those two locked in. Oh, Brock Purdy and George Kittle. Hello, Mr. Boomer Bust, George Kittle. Tight end won 8 games, and then bottom tight end another 8 games. Just completely boomer bust last season. He was top 10. The offense is just a little bit deeper. You have Debo there. I still believe Ayuk is going to stay. You have CMC. Purdy, a top 10 QB. Kittle, one of the better tight ends last season. I do believe he was number 5 or number 6 last year in half-point PPR. But regardless, because of the boom and bust ability, the lack of consistency, he stays out of the top 8. Couldn't get George Kittle out of my mouth there for a second. Not quite a tongue twister, George Kittle, but on the tip of my tongue for certain. Again, let's smash the like button, share the video, and follow the FanSpeak Network. Let's get into our top 8. Jared Goff, we just saw him last week. We do have Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown as our top QB and wide receiver stack, but I am going with them at number 8 with him and Laporta. Laporta I love, but you're paying obviously the top dollar cost for the tight end position in best ball. He is tight end 1. He's coming off the board end of round 3, which is right ahead of where a lot of the other elite tight ends are going. So if you're willing to pay up for tight end, you're really not paying up that much more, whereas you were last year with Travis Kelce, who was going in the first round, now a 4th round pick. So you're getting a bit of a discount on elite tight ends overall. So I don't hate grabbing him here because I know that I can get Jared Goff in round 11, round 10 if I really have to pay for him, if the room is being aggressive, if the lobby is drafting quarterback with priority. Jared Goff, you have a guy who finished as QB7 last year, 2nd most passing yards last year. This offense will still pass the ball a lot. They didn't really make any big moves, really none. You lose Josh Reynolds. Maybe Jamison Williams takes a bit of a step forward, but they didn't add any weapons. A lot of folks are expecting that Jahmyr Gibbs will eat up more passing work. While I do expect Laporta will regress some, I think that narrative plays into Laporta's role a little bit. I still believe he's going to be one of the top 5 tight ends this year. I think that he could fall to maybe number 4 or number 5 from the 1 position, just really based off of total touchdowns. He had 10 last year, led the position for tight ends. Maybe he gets 5 or 6 this year, but still has a very good season. So that's why they're clocking in at number 8. Next up, we've got Josh Allen and Dalton Kincade. You're paying, pretty elite draft capital here. Round 3, round 4 turn for Josh Allen. See him go in round 4 a lot. Definitely see a good amount of people paying up for him as well, bringing him into round 3. If you do bring him up to round 3, it's certainly a lot easier to target Kincade at round 5. But this is a combination that I see a lot of people paying up for. Reason being is the belief is that Kincade could actually lead this team in targets. He had a very good connection with Allen last season. You have Stephon Diggs leaving. You're bringing in some wild cards in a Curtis Samuel. We know MVS just got hurt. They drafted Keon Coleman. He's a wild card in the lineup. And then you have Khalil Shakir returning. A lot of people are betting, myself included, that Shakir and Kincade will be, either target leaders or lead producers for the pass catchers on the Bills. And this is why they're in the, the high stack conversations in the top tier stack targets for quarterback and tight end combos. I like Kincade. I trust him at that draft capital of tight end 5. Round 5 is coming right after like that big heist pike for tight end where you are seeing Laporta go, Andrews, Kittle, someone else that I'm forgetting. I'm not sure. I'm all thumbs tonight, apparently. But you're getting him after that price break. Like all those guys going in round 4 and round 3, you get him after round 5, and you're bringing him back with the quarterback 1 from last season. So a very good combination there. I still think that this is probably one of the better ones to target. It's just very expensive, and that's why it's at number 7. Somehow, this combination is even, I guess, semi as affordable. Kelce was the other player there. He was right there on the next screen. So you have the quarterback 3 off the board, Patrick Mahomes, QB 8 from last year. And then Travis Kelce, who everyone continues to bet on regressing, still finished as a top tight end last year, just didn't do it, scoring touchdowns, didn't bring back double-digit touchdowns. He could very well do that this year. I mean, Travis Kelce could very well be the tight end 1 again. When you look at the weapons that they brought in, it definitely makes you feel like the offense is deeper. But at the same time, you're looking around going, man, Travis Kelce might just have the surest hands here. You like Rashee Rice. You like that he's probably not going to be suspended this year. Hollywood Brown is a field breaker. Xavier Worthy's a field breaker. But, this team had Tyreek Hill on it, and Travis Kelce was still finishing as the tight end 1 in fantasy football. So he is always going to have that ability to, always go into that, top tier of his own production. But coming in at number 6, I mean, you look at Patrick Mahomes, he's been a faller, like round 4, sometimes mid to late round 4, and you can easily get Kelce with him stacked up at one of the turns, whether it be round 3, round 4 turn, or a round 4, round 5, if you're getting either of a dip for either of those guys. I've seen it happen. It may not sound believable, but a lot of people in these rough streets right now of a best ball ADP, they're doing all sorts of weird things. I saw, Jalen McMillan going round 13. I've seen Cooper Kupp going round 2. I mean, there's all sorts of fast movement around the board that will, again, drop some value into your lap. And this is a stack that I've done quite a few times where I'm typically paying up a little bit more for Mahomes in the 3rd, and then I'm bringing Travis Kelce back with him in the 4th, because Kelce is more likely to not fall rather than Mahomes. Mahomes' ADP has been falling, semi-consistently, honestly, and I think it's just because there are so many, prolific quarterbacks that people are high on, like the CJ Stroud hype, still out of control. I saw CJ Stroud go ahead of Patrick Mahomes loads of times in the month of June, in the month of April, even in early July. Like, that was happening with a ton of consistency. Anthony Richardson going ahead of Patrick Mahomes in the big board early in Best Ball Mania. I've seen all of that. So there's definitely going to be some easy combinations, come, scorecard season. When you're looking up the top teams in Best Ball, you're going to see a lot of this because early on that stack was very affordable. Next up, we do have a double stack. We have a double stack back from last week. Last week we had Brock Purdy with Ayuk and Debo, and now we're going with Lamar, Andrews, and Isaiah Likeley. Now, I don't recommend getting all 3 of these guys stacked on one team, but it might be fun. I'd be willing to do it maybe once, maybe twice out of 150 drafts. But, you want to make sure you're obviously not getting another week 14 bye in there. You're not going Andrews, Dalton Schultz, Isaiah Likeley. That wouldn't work out. But I would definitely be willing to do Andrews and say, I don't know, like a Jake Ferguson if you want to go double elite, or if you want to do a Cole Kmet and bring back Isaiah Likeley, something like that, I'd be okay with, just to ensure against any Mark Andrews injury. Again, it's more for fun, but realistically, if you don't get the Jackson and Andrews stack, I mean, it is what it is. It's elite. It's that good. Just, you wouldn't know from number 5, because again, you do pay a pretty price for it, and it is very consistent. But these two have been amazing, since they've been playing together when Andrews came into the league. So you have to like what we've been seeing from elite tight end availability out of Mark Andrews when healthy. Lamar, QB4 last year, always has potential to be the QB1, 2, or 3, win the MVP award, whatever it is, top tier plus top tier talent. Again, the only issue here and why this combination is at number 5, it's super easy to get. Lamar doesn't really fall. Andrews doesn't really fall. It's just that their ADP goes right at the 4-5 turn, where any team in that spot is going to be able to easily pull that together. Yes, you will get blocked plenty of times, and that's why I'm bringing Isaiah Likeley on the board here, is because there's really no blocking. Isaiah Likeley's having a great camp. There's a ton of talk about him just being the second best receiver on the team behind Mark Andrews. That's absolutely ridiculous, but it sounds like the Ravens. It just absolutely sounds like them. Like, they didn't draft any receivers with high draft capital in the NFL draft. They did get Devontae Walker, who I like, but you're kind of sitting back and going, like, Zay Flowers is that the guy that they trust with like a lot of volume, was like someone over like 150 targets? I don't think so. But then you look at the offense and you say, well, is the team really designed to do that? No, the team's designed to move the chains and score. And Lamar Jackson gives that to them because they are never dead on any play. He's got a big arm. He's got amazing legs. He can do it all. The fact that they're talking about working in Likeley more as a complementary piece to Andrews is super interesting to me. So again, I'm not recommending to overstack those guys, to always get Lamar, Andrews, and Likeley. Like I said, I'll do it 1 or 2 times out of 150. But I do fully believe that if you get Lamar, Likeley is a great backstop if you swung and missed on Andrews' ADP or someone blocked that pick at that 4-5 turn. And again, really like this combination, but it's super common. You're going to see loads of drafts with Jackson and Andrews. And there's been plenty of times where I get Andrews and I don't get Jackson. It's more likely that someone will take Mark Andrews without Lamar than they will take Lamar without Andrews. So always look out for that. I try to get Andrews ahead of Lamar, but again, if the quarterback position's being a little bit more aggressive, you have a couple of tight ends left, you might be able to go vice versa, because realistically, I'm okay with drafting either of those guys naked. I'm not okay drafting Likeley without Lamar or another skinny stack like Devontae Walker or a Zay Flowers, something like that, or like a late round Justice Hill, who I really like, or Derrick Henry up front, something like that. I wouldn't draft Likeley uncorrelated or unstacked. All right, next up, we've got pick 4 halfway through the picks. Again, be sure to smash the like button, share the video, and follow the Fantasy Six Pack Network. We've got Kirk Cousins and Kyle Pitts. If not now, then when, Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts doesn't fit the production level for, tight end 1. I believe he finished as tight end 14 last year, but he hasn't had a quarterback like Kirk Cousins yet, who was on pace to be the QB 6 last season in half point PPR. He ranked 6th for fantasy points per game at the quarterback position when he went down, when he got hurt. Kirk Cousins, obviously, he plays the whole season. Maybe he floats between 5 and 8, but still, a top end passer in the league, someone that's going to throw the ball down the field. And Pitts could be the best receiver on the team. I am a full on for Drake London. I am full send on Drake London at his ADP, but I am just the same at Kyle Pitts, and I will pay up for Kyle Pitts. I don't need to pay up for Drake London. And that's because my belief is that this offense will propel forward in immense ways on production levels for all. Everyone's going to eat. Bijan, London, Pitts, nice, beautiful 3-headed monster where, Darnell Mooney can just kind of poke his head in every now and again. Tyler Algier can just kind of poke his head in every now and again. But it's going to be led by the 3-headed dragon of Pitts, Bijan, and London, ridden by the Dragon Rider, Kirk Cousins himself. Is absolutely not a Targaryen whatsoever. Kirk Cousins would be a weird bastard in King's Landing. I just don't believe that he has any royalty in him whatsoever. He's too common folk for me. Regardless, he is going to lead the Falcons in a much better direction this year, at least offensively. Can't tell you what he's going to do for the wins and losses column, but he is going to move our Falcons in immense ways in the market for fantasy football. I truly believe that Drake London will be a wide receiver 1. Same for Kyle Pitts at the tight end position. Easily has top 5, top 3 tight end potential with Kirk Cousins as his quarterback and healthy. Cousins goes down, it's all she wrote. That, might as well revert back to last year where Kyle Pitts is sitting out of, top 10 tight end territory in fantasy football, half point PPR, best ball, etc. So this is all a huge buy-in that, again, the Falcons are going to be amazing this year, and they're not going to look anything like they looked last year prior. We're big ups in that division for the Falcons this year. And looking at the value, 12-13 turn for Kirk Cousins, super cheap. I just mentioned 6th most fantasy points per game at the quarterback position last year. Even if you were to float from 5 to 10, you're getting him in round 12, 13, based on lack of mobility, age, and he's just Kirk Cousins. He's not a sexy name. Everybody watches him on Sunday, blow a game, throw the one interception that he shouldn't have, and lose the Vikings or the big game or whatever, and everyone says, "Oh, he can't play." And I'm looking at my fantasy team. I'm looking at Kirk Cousins, and I'm going, we won. Like, he did it again. You just throw out all the football narrative stuff. You'll see that Kirk Cousins is a great value, and Kyle Pitts also going after those elite tight ends. The Kelces, the Andrews, Trey McBride. I think even after George Kittle. Don't hold me to that. I think Kincade's 5, Pitts is 6. I think Kittle might be after that. Regardless, still high trust for Kyle Pitts this year, who will wind up being probably the wide receiver 2 for this Falcons team. Third up here, we've got Trevor Lawrence and Trevor Ingram. Had Lawrence in the top 8 last week with Christian Kirk at number 8. Ingram, that stack a little bit more important because you have Ingram, finishing as the tight end 2 last year. If he brings back any sort of that level of production, he's easily going to finish as a top 5 tight end. You have the departure of Gabe Davis, the addition of Gabe Davis, the departure of Calvin Ridley. So you're going to have some target swapping there. You have vacated production to be spread around, but how is that going to be done? I'm trusting that Ingram and Kirk will take the majority of the vacated work. You're still bringing in a guy like Brian Thomas who could steal touchdowns, and that's why I think we're getting the round 7 discount, because this guy should easily be going in that bunch of players in that round 4, round 5 territory based off of his production from last season. But again, NFL narrative stuff, man. Just, Evan Ingram. Remember when he had bad hands? Evan Ingram. That's a gross name in my mouth just saying it, right? I'm thinking New York Giants Evan Ingram. I don't get it. I don't get why he's not priced higher. I'm going to continue to buy the discount, and that's why this stack specifically is at number 3. That's why it's of a massive value, because you're getting the QB 13 last year in Trevor Lawrence, a guy I think can take a step forward with, again, a healthy Kirk, who he's more familiar with. Last year, he was not necessarily always vibing with Calvin Ridley, trying to vibe with him, giving him a ton of targets. They just weren't on the same page, right? So this year gets more familiar receivers back, fully healthy. Kirk, Ingram, you add in some good weapons, and again, Thomas, Gabe Davis, deepen the pass catchers list a little bit there to really propel Lawrence forward. But ultimately, I think that the biggest winners will be Lawrence, Ingram, and Kirk from a more improved passing offense. You still have a safe floor there from the running group out of Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby. They're going to do good things. Offensive line isn't necessarily amazing, but the offense overall is set up well, to be a top scoring offense in the NFL. And again, Ingram, Kirk from the last episode, going to be bigger benefactors of that. And again, I believe that Lawrence will also finish ahead of last year's QB 13. Definitely in the top 10 this year for me. I've drafted, again, a lot of this stacking of Ingram, Lawrence, and Kirk. I put all 3 of them into plenty of builds. So maybe we'll peep that for an upcoming show. We'll get the best quarterback, tight end, receiver. No, I'm just kidding. That's a bit much. That's really leaning in. All right, next up we've got Dak Prescott back on the list. He was also number 2 last week, and that's just because this team is going to pass the ball a ton. If you didn't hear it last week, you're going to hear it again. The Dallas Cowboys are going to pass the ball a ton this year. Their running backs are Zeke Elliott, Rico Dowdle, Deuce Vaughn, and someone else I'm forgetting that I should remember that I don't. 4 really bad, not great running backs. They didn't add anyone at receiver, no one at tight end. CeeDee Lamb's going to be there. He's going to be on the field, whether he has a contract or not. Jake Ferguson, just the same. And these guys are going to get a ton of positive volume, whether they're down in games, whether they're just chasing points in general, need to put up a big drive. This offense passes the ball a lot. Ferguson and CeeDee Lamb are huge, huge benefactors of that. Throw Brandon Cooks into a sleeper conversation. Huge benefactor at his ADP based on the fact that this team will pass the ball a ton. You bring back the QB3. You bring back the quarterback who threw for the most passing touchdowns last year, and you're bringing back almost the same supporting cast minus Tony Pollard. Dak loves to throw to the quarterback position. Ferguson is an immense value at tight end 9. He is going to be a little bit more touchdown dependent, but who says Jake Ferguson can't score 10 receiving touchdowns this year? You can't tell me no. You just can't. They don't have a reliable running back in the red zone outside of Zeke Elliott. Zeke Elliott is 1 hair string away from an injury. I'm sorry. I love the guy. I love that he's now a journeyman in the league, but the miles add up on those legs. 1 wrong hit, he's in the blue tent. It's bye-bye. Now, that's not to say that these other running backs can't be complimentary. They're just not good enough to service an offense for a running back to take even 200 carries. I wouldn't trust any of these running backs with 200 carries unless it's Zeke, but you might only be getting 600 to 700 total yards on that the entire season. If you have 3 running backs rushing for 5, 6, or 700 rushing yards, you don't have a rushing offense. You just have some guys taking handoffs while you throw the ball the rest of the time. This is going to be a very important stack to get because of its value as well. Another reason why it's number 2. 8-9 turn for Dak, QB 10. Completely mispriced, same as I said last week. This is a guy who was QB 3. QB 3 shouldn't be going in rounds 8 or 9. Jake Ferguson, he's right there. You can get Dak, who falls a ton all the time. I think his ADP is 96. I consistently get him at 106, 112, 116. He just constantly falls. Again, bad NFL narrative. But Dak doesn't want to just play. He wants a bunch of money. Oh, he plays for the Cowgirls. I don't like the Cowboys. the Dolphins are America's team. Just whatever reason you have to not like him, not like the Cowboys. I love it because it gives me a massive, massive discount. Again, just bad NFL narrative talk coming into fantasy. It can work for you. It can work for you. And man, shame on the folks that overbuy into it. All right, last one up here, and my favorite stack, and it is number 1. Trey McBride last year was the tight end 9 while pretty much playing only half of the season or half of the tight end 1 snaps for the Cardinals. Everyone's telling me, Justin, you're too high on McBride. Don't you know they drafted Marvin Harrison? Never heard of the guy. Who is that? Marvin Harrison Jr.? What position does he play? Of course I've heard of Marvin Harrison Jr. He's like ADP 11. Of course I know what's going on. But if you look last year and you read into the tea leaves and you look at what Kyler Murray was doing with Trey McBride, it's going to lead you to see that he's going to be the top target on the Arizona Cardinals this year. Kyler Murray does not want to make unsafe throws. He is very much about dinking, checking down, and making the safe play. This guy's going to want another contract. And the way that this offense is set up, he doesn't have to take major risks. He's going to make safe throws, and when he can't, he's going to extend the play with his legs. Now, counter that, you do have Marvin Harrison Jr., an option that will allow you deep field plays, someone that you might be able to trust downfield. Try it. Try it, Kyler. Let's see it. He's not DeAndre Hopkins. I love Marvin Harrison Jr. I love the concept of an elite rookie coming in, being the next big guy, the next big name, the next Jamar Chase, the next Justin Jefferson. I love it. But they're going to get caught a few times early, and they're going to see that McBride is the safe option to overload with production. He's a big, bulky target. He's not a guy that's going to, break the field open like George Kittle, get 15, 16, 17 yards of reception. No, he is more of your efficient route runner, the guy that can block, the guy that can stay on the field. And that is why I am chasing a ton of Trey McBride in round 4. To me, he is my sole pick to finish as the tight end 1 this season. I have seen others say it. There's, a little bit of a debate in the community because really you could go any which way with a lot of the names that I've provided. Even a guy like George Kittle, if he were to obtain some sort of level of consistency, he's easily in the conversation, a name not even on this list. I love this offense for what it is. They're going to have, again, safe play calling, a run first priority with Connor, Benson, look out for Michael Carter. That's going to happen. And then you have Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride, and a bunch of dudes. Your Greg Dortch, your Zay Jones, your Michael Wilson. You just have a bunch of other options, and any one of those guys can be the flavor of the week for Kyler Murray, even Marvin Harrison Jr. in that conversation. Don't be surprised if you see a couple of weeks of Marvin Harrison Jr. with, 5 catches, 67 yards and nothing, but you see Trey McBride with 4 for 78 and 2 touchdowns. That's what I think he can do for you, is not only just be a consistent threat up the field, but also be a massive threat in the red zone. Certainly rooting for Marvin Harrison Jr., but I'm big dogging it on Trey McBride this year. He was someone that I drafted a ton of last year. He was my second most exposed tight end last year behind Tyler Conklin. The talent's always been there. The prospect notes have always been there where you're just like, man, if this guy plays, like, he's going to be something. Now I'm telling you, he's going to be playing the tight end 1 for the Cardinals the entire season. Not half the season where he finishes tight end 9, the whole season where he's going to finish tight end 1, maybe tight end 2, maybe. But I'm top 3 for sure. Top 3 for sure. You heard it here. And if someone else told you, it's because they heard it from me. Just kidding. I'm definitely not the only one on that stack, and I'm definitely not the only one on Trey McBride this year. Again, a little bit, maybe some recency bias, some favoritism, from the coach here. Maybe I'm just, overlogging my picks on him. I believe I'm at 12.9% Trey McBride through 123 Best Ball Mania 5 drafts. So I think I need to get that up a little bit. I've been saying most of the summer that I wanted to keep him at a steady 15%. And I think that in a lot of drafts where I was trying to get him, more so, he's getting chased up the board. You don't have to chase any of these tight ends up the board, luckily. There's so many of them. I mean, once you get to like that Ferguson and Njoku, Brock Bowers range, like, you should have at least one tight end. And if you don't, you should quickly tap 2, like a Cole Kmet and a Luke Musgrave, something like that, or whatever else is hanging around in that edge. To close it down, I will throw out another dart throw, Kyle Granson. We saw Jelani Woods coming up injured, a name that I was talking a little bit more about in the big board days. I took 3 shares of Kyle Granson in the big board, and I've taken 1 of him in Best Ball Mania, again, through 123 drafts. So obviously not a huge level of trust, but he's always kind of been on my radar. This Jelani Woods injury, it's got my light bulbs blinking here in my head. So what's going to be interesting to see if he gets any movement. I'm going to be making him a round 18 pick. I would definitely get him stacked up with some Anthony Richardson and other Colts alike. We are going to head on out for the evening. Appreciate the couple of likes on the Facebook, YouTube viewers, everybody on Twitter. Love you all. Take care. We'll be back next week. Take care. Be well, be good. If you can't be good at it. We'll see you.